Christy and I will split up.
Oh, I only.
Right.
Ellen would follow her around.
Next time I
She'd
work
drink
with
up with water, so she could wipe it down and go younger and stuff. She just follows her around too.
She's from, she lives in Dallas.
They didn't take it back from you.
Brett.
Cool.
Take it from you. They didn't take it from you.
Gone. It was really awkward at the Hall of Fame induction for the golf team. They said I was the only Massey graduate.
Yeah.
That's been
I
inducted.
gave Bassett.
We're good, Brian.
Yeah,
You got any more time?
100 shots.
I'd like to call the regular November 4th, 2021 City Council meeting to order. May we have roll call, please?
Okay.
Here.
Snart.
Here.
Bickert. Here. Turkey.
Here.
Evelyn.
Here.
Learman.
Here.
Swindler.
Here.
Thank you. Would you all stand and join me in the pledge, please? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just join me in a brief moment of silence. Thank you. Under the President's agenda, we have the approval of tonight's agenda. What is your pleasure?
Move it be accepted as presented.
Second. We have a motion by Swindler, second by Perky, that the agenda be accepted as presented. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is accepted as presented. You also have before you for approval the October 24th meeting minutes. What is your pleasure with those?
Move they be accepted as presented.
Second.
Motion by Pickard, second by McKay, that the meeting minutes of October 21st be accepted as presented. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting minutes are accepted. We also are setting a public hearing for December 16th, 2021 for a rezoning request from Richard Steinkolb, trustee, Betty Jean Steinkolb Bypass Trust, to rezone 147.403 acres of real property, including parcels more commonly known as 3014 Wambach Avenue and 3167 Progress Way, from RR Rural Residential to L1 Light Industrial. So that public hearing will be December 16th. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Again, Anna's just doing an outstanding job, and you know, got these in your packet. We also want to make sure you thank Judge Daugherty when you see him, because you can see how many of these cases that are going to court, and we're getting resolved. Slowly, we're getting things cleaned up. We had a drug take-back program, and we received 12 boxes of miscellaneous drugs. Total weight was just under 150 pounds. Kept that from being flushed down the toilet and into our sewer system. So we want to thank everybody that donated their expired or no longer needed drugs to that. Clinton County Health District is offering vaccinations for kids 5 to 11. That's at Wilmington High School, Friday, November the 5th from 3 to 5. Clinton Massey Middle School, Monday, November 8th from 3 to 5:30. A parent or guardian must be present. Holiday at the Tree Mill, that's this Friday and Saturday, 5th and 6th from 10 to 5:30. Unique antiques and home goods. SRWW District Blood Drive, that's Monday, November the 8th at 179 South Jackson Street in Sabina. And that's from 3 to 7. Call for appointments. Health System Community Blood Drive at Flint Memorial Hospital. That is Wednesday, November 10th, from 11 to 6:30. Call for appointments. Received this letter. This morning at approximately 9:30, I was behind a Wilmington Police Department officer at the intersection of Lincoln and Sugar Tree. This officer stopped a gentleman who appeared to be homeless and handed him a breakfast from McDonald's. This officer went above and beyond his duty when serving the city of Wilmington and representing the Wilmington Police Department. If you can track down the officer, please share this email along with a thank you to the officer. The officer was operating car number 130. And that officer was none other than our own Matt Hamilton. So when you see Matt, good job, Matt. You represent our city well. And speaking of representing our city, I want to give a shout out to Brian Shatterford. He won a position on the school board. And it's going to be a challenge. But Brian is up to it, and he can do it. I have all the confidence in the world. I hope you know what you got in.
That's what I told you.
Congrats.
But anyway, congratulations, Brian. Glad you're doing it. Back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for stepping up, Brian. All right, Auditor Vance.
Nothing at this time, Mr. President.
Thank you. Safety Service Director, Mr. Scheiger.
Okay, I just have a couple items, 3 items on the agenda tonight. But first of all, I want to just say, I really appreciate everyone that supported the cemetery on Tuesday. I actually went out there Wednesday morning, and I just went to Sugar River and I said thank you, because it wasn't any individual. It was the cemetery itself. That's why it passed, in my opinion. But you go out there, and I've said this before, those are hollow grounds. It's an amazing place. It's the diamond in the city. And I just went out there and said thank you. And we've got revenue coming in now for the future. And I'm just so happy that passed on Tuesday. So I would be remiss if I didn't say something about the Sugar Grove Cemetery. So great things are coming. Amazing things are coming for a long time. And we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to burden the general fund, which I know Mary Kay, Auditor Vance, you love that as well. So just so pleased with that. The other stuff I have on here, the fire department, they want to go out to bid for breathing apparatuses. This is already in their budget, but it is going to be more than $50,000. So we need permission to go out to bid and to enter into a contract for breathing apparatuses. So that's the first piece of legislation. I'll just go through these real quick, and then we can go ahead and move on these items. As you've already seen, you've got surplus property. This is something that is routine that we do often. And then finally, the third is dealing with Lynn Lane. Lynn Lane's the new road out there on Williams Farm subdivision. We are hopeful that we will get striping next week. That should happen next week. And signs will be put up, but we're at the point now where the city is ready to accept that, especially with the winter season coming on. I don't know if there's anyone here that wants to speak on Lynn Lane or not, but it's ready to be accepted. Mayor, did you want to say anything about that? Or?
No, actually, the only reason we haven't done it sooner is we're waiting on the street to get striped so we can have traffic on it.
Mm-hmm.
And if it does turn out to be too cold and we can't do the thermoplastic, we're going to go ahead and paint stripes.
Yeah.
And we'll thermoplastic next year.
My understanding is that
We
they
want
will
to
be
get
able
open
to
quick.
strike next week, though. So, and then before we get to legislation, Councilperson Perkins, I think you were the one that asked about the floodplain maps. So I asked for a map, and my team. Who asked for it? You asked for it. I asked for a map, and I got a presentation. So
I'm already regretting that I mentioned
so be careful, like just like the school board, be careful what you ask for.
Yeah.
Because I got a presentation on the FEMA floodplain maps. So they did this back in 2010 and changed it this past year. And hopefully this will work. Maybe it won't, maybe it will. So in the city, and highlighted in yellow, these are where the floodplains actually change, which basically encompasses the whole city. you all can look at this anytime, I can send this to people, you guys wanna know what the difference was and stuff. So I'm taking star, basically quadrant by quadrant. You all can take your time and analyze this. You can zoom in on it. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on it, but the differences in the floodplain from 2010 to 2021 is up here. Like I said, happy to share it. You can see small differences there. I'm just gonna go through these real quick, but this is more to provide you on your own time when you can't sleep. So, as you can see, each quadrant, we have done this. We've shown you where it changed since 2010. We'll even go to the outside there where the star is, to that star. You see what I'm doing here? Like I said, or you can go to the website. So they have a FEMA Flood Map Service Center, that's the website, or you can go to ODNR floodplain page, and you can see it there for yourself as well. Or like I said, I'd be happy to provide copies.
Can't believe you rushed maps.
I appreciate that though, thank you.
It's here, and yeah, like anybody who wants to see it, I'll make copies available so you can see the changes, and you can go here as well. So, like I said, there's legislation, but does anybody have any questions about what I've already presented? Cool, all right, thank you.
Okay, then we'll move ahead with the legislation that Brian has spoken about. We have, for 3 readings, resolution number 2140. I need someone to introduce that and move forward with it.
I'll move to give resolution 2140 a first reading by title only.
Second.
Motion by Perky, second by McKay, first reading, resolution 2140. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? May I have first reading, please?
A resolution authorizing the advertising for bids for fire department self-contained breathing apparatus, scuba, units, and for contracting for same.
Move to suspend the rules and regulations to give resolution 2140 a second and third reading by title only.
Second.
Motion second for suspension of the rules. May we have roll call, please?
Evelyn,
Yes?
Learman,
Yes.
Swindler,
Yes.
McKay,
Yes.
Snar,
Yes.
Bickert, yes, Perky.
Yes.
May we have second, third reading, please?
A resolution authorizing the advertising for bids for fire department self-contained breathing apparatus, SCBA, units, and for contracting for same.
Move for passage as read.
Second.
Motion second for passage. Roll call, please.
Learman,
Yes.
Swindler,
Yes.
McKay,
Yes.
Snar,
Yes.
Bickert, yes, Perky,
Yes.
Evelyn.
Yes?
Resolution 2140 passes. And then we have resolution 2141, please.
I would move for the first reading on resolution 2141 by title only.
Second.
Have a motion and second, first reading resolution 2141. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. First reading, please.
A resolution declaring surplus property to wit, public works vehicles, engines, and concrete mixer valued at more than $1,000 and authorizing the sale of said property.
Move for the suspension of rules and regulations to give resolution 2141 second and third reading by title only.
Second.
Have a motion and second for suspension of the rules. May we have roll call, please?
Swindler,
Yes.
McKay,
Yes.
Snar,
Yes.
Bickert, yes, Perky.
Yes.
Evelyn.
Yes?
May we have a second, third reading, please?
A resolution declaring surplus property to wit, public works vehicles, engines, and concrete mixer valued at more than $1,000 and authorizing the sale of said property.
Move for passage.
Second.
Motion second for passage. Roll call, please.
McKay,
Yes.
Snar,
Yes.
Bickert, yes, Perky.
Yes.
Evelyn,
Yes?
Learman,
Yes.
Swindler.
Yes.
Thank you. Resolution 2141 passes. And we have ordinance 2148.
Move to give ordinance 2140 first reading by title only.
Second.
Motion by Perky, second by Evelyn. First reading ordinance 2148. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? First reading, please.
An ordinance ordinance accepting dedication of a certain street, all utilities, utility easement, and utility hardware in the Williams Farm subdivision.
Move to suspend the rules and regulations and give ordinance 2148 a second and third reading by title only.
Second?
Motion by Perky, second by Learman, suspension of the rules. May we have roll call, please?
Snar,
Yes.
Pickard,
Yes.
Perky,
Yes.
Evelyn,
Yes.
Learman,
Yes.
Swindler,
Yes.
McKay.
Yes.
May we have second, third reading, please?
An ordinance accepting dedication of a certain street, all utilities, utility easement, and utility hardware in the Williams Farm subdivision.
Move for passage.
Second.
Motion second for passage, roll call, please.
Pickard,
Yes.
Perky,
Yes.
Evelyn,
Yes.
Learman,
Yes.
Swindler,
Yes.
McKay,
Yes.
Snar.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 2148 passes. And that is all you have, Mr. Schott?
One thing that you'll see during the transfer, or the supplemental tonight for funding, has to do with the design for Airborne Road. That's in our pencil. I've been working diligently with the Port Authority and Mr. Evers we're attempting to acquire, and we are acquiring grant funds, 629 funds. I would like to have the authority to enter into a cooperative agreement with the Port Authority to acquire those funds for the benefit of the city of Wilmington for Airborne Road. And all I need is a simple motion to allow me the authority to enter into that agreement with the Port Authority. So if I could just have a simple motion to say authorizing the service director to enter into the agreement, that would be awesome, so that I can hopefully get us more money for Airborne Road.
If there aren't any questions.
Any questions about that?
Move to authorize the service director to enter into an agreement with the Port Authority for potential grant funding.
Second.
Motion by Perky, second by McKay, to move that service director be given authority to request funds along with Port Authority. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
You have the authority.
Cool.
Thank you. That's all you have, sir? Mr. Schottiger, is that all you have?
That's all. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, moving into council reports and action and city revitalization committee, Mr. Snar.
No official business, Mr. President.
Mr. Evelyn, city services
No
committee.
report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Finance committee, Ms. Vickers.
I always have something.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 3 pieces of legislation this evening. The first is 3 readings on ordinance 2149, making supplemental appropriations. I'll run through these for you all. The first item A, this is a significant amount. This is the $3.3 million. This is for the wastewater treatment plant design build expense. We did discuss this in Finance Committee, and I think most members of council were here in that Finance Committee meeting. Does anyone have any questions about this? Or, I'm sure Rick can answer those, or the auditor. Okay. The next item is $75,000. This is regarding the landfill. This is for state and local fees. We're just seeing some increased expenses there with that. This should get us through the rest of the year. Right now, those are running about $30,000 a month. Item C, this is actually item C and D. These are both regarding the Airborne Road Development Grant Fund and funding that. So happy to entertain questions around that too, but this was also discussed in Finance Committee. Any questions? Councilman Learman, did you have any questions? I think you're the only one who maybe wasn't here for that discussion. Okay. Okay. I will move to give first reading on ordinance 2149 by title only.
Second.
Have a motion by Vickers, second by Swindler. First reading ordinance 2149. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? May we have first reading, please?
An ordinance making supplemental appropriations.
I move to suspend the rules and regulations and give second and third reading on ordinance 2149 by title only.
Second.
Motion second for suspension of the rules. May we have roll call, please?
Perky,
Yes.
Evelyn,
Yes.
Learman,
Yes.
Swindler,
Yes.
McKay,
Yes.
Snar,
Yes.
Pickard.
Yes.
Motion carries. May we have second, third reading, please?
An ordinance making supplemental appropriations.
Move for passage?
Second.
Motion second for passage. May we have roll call, please?
Evelyn,
Yes.
Learman,
Yes.
Swindler,
Yes.
McKay,
Yes.
Snar,
Yes.
Pickert,
Yes.
Perky.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 2149 passes.
Thank you. Next, we have 3 readings on ordinance 2150, making miscellaneous transfers. The first item here for $200, this is for admin vehicle expenses or admin vehicle fuel. I'm sorry, we're running short on that line. Fuel prices are higher than what we anticipated. And then item B, this is for dumpster maintenance. We need to paint and repair some of the dumpsters, and those supplies are also seeing an increased cost right now. Okay, I will move to give first reading on ordinance 2150 by title only.
Second?
Motion by Pickard, second by Snar, first reading ordinance 2150. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? May we have the first reading, please?
An ordinance making miscellaneous transfers.
I move to suspend the rules and regulations and give second and third reading on ordinance 2150 by title only.
Second.
Motion by Pickard, second by Perky for suspension of the rules. May we have roll call, please?
Learman,
Yes.
Swindler,
Yes.
McKay,
Yes.
Snar,
Yes.
Pickert,
Yes.
Perky,
Yes.
Evelyn.
Yes.
Motion carries. May we have a second, third reading, please?
An ordinance making miscellaneous transfers.
Move for passage.
Second?
Motion by Pickard, second by Snar for passage, ordinance 2150. Roll call, please.
Swindler,
Yes.
McKay,
Yes.
Snar,
Yes.
Pickert,
Yes.
Perky,
Yes.
Evelyn,
Yes.
Learman.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 2150 passes.
Thank you. Our last item is 3 readings on ordinance 2151, establishing a new fund. We have 2 of these. The first is related to the Airborne Roadwork Development Grant that we just talked about on the other piece of legislation. And the second item is for the wastewater treatment plant that we also had on the other piece of legislation. Just creating those new funds. Any questions? I move to give first reading on ordinance 2151 by title only.
Second.
Motion by Pickard, second by McKay, ordinance 2151. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? May we have first reading, please?
An ordinance establishing a new fund.
I move to suspend the rules and regulations and give second and third reading on ordinance 2151 by title only.
Second.
Motion second for suspension of the rules. Roll call, please.
McKay,
Yes.
Snar,
Yes.
Pickert,
Yes.
Perky,
Yes.
Evelyn,
Yes.
Learman,
Yes.
Swindler.
Yes.
May we have second and third reading, please?
An ordinance establishing a new fund.
Move for passage.
Second.
Motion second for passage. Roll call, please.
Snar,
Yes.
Pickert,
Yes.
Perky,
Yes.
Evelyn,
Yes.
Learman,
Yes.
Swindler,
Yes.
McKay.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 2151 passes.
Thank you. Nothing further this evening, although we discussed this in Finance Committee, but we will likely have a budget workshop like we've done in years past, hopefully prior to the next council meeting. Not same night, but earlier in the evening. I'll coordinate with the auditor and administration to get that on the books and to ensure that we are truly ready to look at the budget for that meeting. But we'll keep everyone updated. Probably just start before council. We usually have that in council chambers and everyone has an opportunity to look through that. And we just go through line by line. So we'll keep you updated on that, but no further updates.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Judiciary Committee, Mr. Perky.
Yeah, we had a discussion, we had a committee meeting this evening, so we discussed the continuation of the CRA legislation, and given the recent tax levy for the schools, it was decided to table that for the time being. I know that the developer is still trying to evaluate where they're at. The committee will do the same. It's just not the right time to move anything forward right now. So I think, am I speaking out of turn for the committee, am I?
No, I think we discussed in the last meeting, but I think we don't want to send a message that we are anti-development. That's not the goal at all. the logistics have just changed, and we need to work through how we can make this work for both the schools and
We will reassess.
development.
We will reassess. So given that, unless there are any questions about that, I have nothing further to say.
I will comment on
Only Kelsey had it.
Oh, yeah, mine is unrelated to this though, so please go
Okay.
ahead.
And, yeah, it was a bad situation for the school levy to go down clearly, and obviously we have to be sympathetic to that. But by the same token, the school funding is the school's issue. City funding is our issue. And we went into this discussion trying to augment development and developers and bring new single-family residential development into the city. That hasn't gone away. In fact, we want to support it 100%. But maybe it's time for us to there's other ways to help developers besides tax abatements, TIFs, whatever. And maybe it's time for us to do some creative thinking along the lines of, what can we do, target what we want, and how we make that happen. I'll cite for you a case in a city called Greensburg, Indiana. Some of you may know some about their development plan. Greensburg, Indiana is a city not too much different from Wilmington. It's rural, basically a rural city, good heritage, lots of amenities around it. But they decided they wanted to target some of these folks who have continued to work from home, as a result of COVID, but now their jobs are basically going to be permanently at home. Now you can do a lot of these computer jobs basically anywhere in the country. So what the city of Greensburg did was they said, all right, that's the people we want to attract. We want to attract families who can basically work from home. And so how are we going to do it? Well, I'll tell you what they did. And they're doing. They offered essentially a bounty, $5,000 for any family that would move to Greensburg, Indiana and buy a house. And give them $5,000. And in addition, they said, we're going to welcome those people to the community, and we're going to have something similar to a welcome wagon. We're going to set up a program where many of these families will probably have children. We're going to set up a foster grandparents program so that if these young couples want to go out and have an evening in town or something, set them up with foster families for the kids to go stay with so that the parents can go out and have a good time. Basically, bring them into the community, embrace them, give them money to come, help them with their moving expenses and so forth. If you target the group that you want to target, maybe something like that can happen. I'm not saying that's the right thing for Wilmington. It may very well not be. However, it's that kind of thinking that are going to bring people into town. And so let's kind of work up from that perspective while we're trying to get the school's money straightened out and our money straightened out. There's something to think
We still
about.
don't have houses for them.
No?
I mean, to that end, nothing changes. Our circumstances not change one iota. We all agree in the committee, we still need houses. We're still in the same boat. It's just not the right time to try to put a request for additional tax abatement for, until the schools can kind of iron out what they're doing. Maybe we'll look at other programs. I think that's great. But we still acknowledge that we need houses urgently, apartments urgently, multifamily, single family. Like, we need all of the above in this community. And that's not going to change. It just doesn't seem like the right time to ask for a tax abatement from the school. So again, the committee will continue to research. I know the developers can kind of weighing their options and seeing what they have, or there may be other ways that we haven't thought of yet that are creative ways to help spur development. So I appreciate any and all thoughts. Kelsey, I know you had a comment.
I'm just going to be Debbie Downer. We're supposed to do 2 readings on the floodplain legislation tonight. I checked back to the minutes. We didn't actually pass that in 3 readings last time. We need to do 2 more. The maps were actually for a purpose, but we'll do 2 more tonight.
Let's pull up
So that people can file for their flood insurance by
yes,
whatever
it
the
was
deadline is.
it was an emergency piece. So
Yeah, sorry guys.
If
If there's any other discussion on CRA though,
No,
this is just, we need to add, we might have to move to amend the agenda. It's not on the agenda.
Do you have that ordinance handy that you could
I did.
print a copy for the powers that be? Okay. I'm looking at the last agenda right now.
I can
you want copies of it?
I don't think I need a copy.
No, I don't need a
just-
copy.
I want it available.
I don't know if
for
I need,
anyone.
do we need to make a motion to amend the agenda first, or can we just make a motion for a piece of legislation that's not on the agenda? I'm looking at the law director.
I would have made the agenda.
Okay, I would make a motion that we amend the agenda to include ordinance number
2147.
2147, second and
Second.
third readings.
So we have a motion by Swindler, second by Ficker to amend tonight's agenda to include that legislation. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Amended agenda.
We'll move to suspend the rules and regulations, give ordinance 2147 a second, third reading by title only.
Second?
Motion second, first reading, ordinance 2147. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? May we have first reading, sir?
Well, it's second, third
Second,
reading.
third
We
reading.
need to do roll call.
I'm so sorry, I
That's
thought we were
okay.
doing first reading.
We did first reading.
Okay. The motion was for the suspension of rules, and we need roll call, please.
Elam,
Yes.
Learman,
Yes.
Swindler,
Yes.
McKay,
Yes.
Snar,
Yes.
Pickert,
Yes.
Kirby.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Motion carried. May we have second, third reading?
An ordinance rescinding ordinance 4905, adopting the flood insurance study and flood insurance rate map for Clinton County, Ohio, and incorporated areas, adopting flood control regulations and procedures for the city of Wilmington, and declaring an emergency.
Move for passage.
Second.
Have a motion and second for passage, ordinance 2147. Roll call, please.
Learman,
Yes.
Swindler,
Yes.
McKay,
Yes.
Snar,
Yes.
Pickert.
Yes.
Kirby,
Yes.
Elam.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 2147 passes.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Public Works Committee, Ms. Swindler.
We only have one discussion item, and again, I do think there were other council members present to listen in as we had our Public Works Committee meeting earlier this evening to discuss this. But just to provide kind of a high-level recap, we certainly had a discussion earlier this spring as we did our annual review of rates for various utilities, and Mr. Scheidefer had a presentation to look at where we are now, where we need to be, and of particular focus was the water department. As we know, we have years of deferred maintenance, and while Rick and his crew have certainly chipped into a lot of that, as we've gone through algal bloom issues and everything else that we've taken on, we certainly, that list is not getting shorter, the more we take on. I think we can all say, based on even just talking with the First Lady of Ohio, Ms. Brandywine, earlier this week, that we're not alone, that all cities in Ohio are facing similar aging infrastructure and challenges with algal bloom and other water quality issues. So certainly not alone, but we have to look proactively at what the rate structure needs to be in order to accommodate those investments. I think Rick has put together a proposal that is very proactive, fair, moderated. He gave us a list of communities actually throughout Ohio that have recently been in the news for their own rate increases in water. And what stood out to me was that a number of those were significant one-time increases of 11, 12, 16%. Something we would not want to do. To be in the position of, it was clear that we had communities across Ohio that maybe got caught off guard or were doing a big catch-up, similar to what we were doing a couple years ago. So I think that the plan Rick has put together puts us in a good position to not find ourselves caught off guard, that we can make sure that we're working ahead to have that money available to do the kinds of investment and fixes that ensure we have safe, high-quality drinking water for community members. So I appreciated some of that research into other communities and what they've done. We do plan to have 3 separate readings, not tonight, beginning November 18th, so our last 3 meetings of the year. And obviously, this would be subject to annual review as well. So those were kind of the high points. Are there any questions around potential rate increases? I know Councilmember Ficker discussed, how we communicate this to the community to help give a better picture of some of the projects that we do have that are critical to the safety and infrastructure of the water plant, and what on average those increases look like. We looked at the average water bill, which is around $39, and over the course of those 3-4 years, that would increase to around $42, so an increase of about $3 over 3 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the average rate today is $39.17, and by 2024, pending these increases, that would go up to $42.91.
So about 8%.
Yeah, sorry, and I don't think I even said it'd be 5, 3, and 3, 5%, 3%, 3%, over the next 3 years.
I wonder if, prior to consideration of this ordinance, if we could get some actual detailed information on, specifically, well, if nothing else, an income and expense statement from the water department saying where they are now, where I want to see. And particularly since we're going to be in November. Second of all, we haven't seen anything at all as far as supplement, or as, for appropriations for next year.
Right.
I'd like to see those first before we do that.
Right.
And thirdly, more definition on exactly what those things are. I think we've got to be very careful with this because, you know, we've hit the taxpayers pretty hard this year and they've been good to us. They approved our cemetery levy. But we also hit them with the wastewater tax. We've hit them with a number of other things. They were good enough to give us the income tax, but I think we have to show them the real need for this. And if we're going to ask for more money, I think they need to have a right to know what the need is and how we're going to specifically, not just, well, we need infrastructure and there's a water line that needs to be moved on 380, the raw water line. What's that going to cost? Is that the top of the priority list or is it the bottom of the priority list? Let's get specific with it before we give it consideration. I think we've got time to do that.
Well, fortunately, it was presented in April, so that list is expanded and it was provided to committee, so fortunately.
Numbers on it, Kristen.
My name is Kelsey, but I'm sure he can forward it.
And that's also why I asked for the communication plan, so that we can communicate that to the public
And I
as well.
think that's good.
And the report we did in April listed 4 pages of issues that were facing.
I remember. I Has it changed since April, and how does that relate to the operating budget that we've got right now? That's what I.
Right, yeah, and we have all that, so.
So
And
we
we'll do
need
that.
time to put it together. All I'm saying is let's get the information so we can.
Right.
Well, the point that you also made, I think, Rick, was if we don't, for example, I think it was the 380 project, if we wait and do that, that's gonna be more expensive than taking care of it now.
Right, the bigger problem later that broke under there on that line is that history of breaking because of.
I understand, but what is it? I mean, other than just building a war chest, I want to know specifically.
No, yeah, there's no war chest here. Yeah.
Fortunately, I think we're all on the same page because
Right.
all those attachments have been compiled, so they can be forwarded to full
Yeah,
council.
yeah.
I'll say a couple other things about it. I did listen in on the utility committee meeting. And you know, it's a pretty compelling case as far as the residential rates are concerned, but what impact does it have? What percentage of water do we pump to industries? You know, we hit the industries and commercial businesses got hit hard by the wastewater tax. And now, they're probably the biggest water users. Are we gonna double dip them? Is that friendly to the business community? I just think there's things we all need to think about very carefully before we vote.
Well, and from a finance, from the chair I sit in, we have to always remember, we're constantly watching the requirements we have through our bond issue that is still there. And we have to have that 1.1 coverage of revenue to expenditures. It doesn't matter how much we happen to have in our carryover. It's what we have, revenues versus expenditures year over year. So it's all part of the equation, and we get terribly close to that. And if we do fall below that for any reason whatsoever, the bank will come in and tell us what our new rates will be. So I think we need to have that in consideration, that it's not just the projects that need to be done, but also the operating costs, which you all will get to see this as we go through the budget process, just to reassure everyone, but that we're constantly watching from another perspective, not just how to pump the water, but how to maintain our position with bonds and with our bond issues and our bond rating and with the banks, the bank that carries that paper.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We'll certainly
Yeah,
make.
I'll forward everything I gave the committee, everything that you asked for, is already done. I'll forward that to the rest of the council. I could not do that until you're right.
Yeah, I think we can certainly make all those committee materials available for council.
Maybe I could get it on the website too.
Yeah.
City website.
Great, any other questions? That's all I have tonight, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Wilbur. Solid waste recycling, Mr. McKay.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. We do have two reports in your packet, the 2021 Port of Three Auditor certification for hotel lodging tax and the income tax report. If there are no concerns or questions about those, I'll entertain a motion to pass.
Move to be accepted as presented.
Second.
Motion by Perky, second by Learman, to accept the reports as presented. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Reports are accepted. We now will open the meeting to the public. Anyone who wishes to come forward and express their thoughts to council, please come forward to this area and keep your comments as concise as possible. Hi there.
Hi guys.
And you are?
I am Shelby Bowman, Director of the History Center. And address 149 East Locust Street. So I just wanted to come and thank you guys publicly for supporting our Talking Tombstones event, the first cemetery tour that we have done as director for 3 years. Highly successful event, our best event in 3 years, and it has generated some great revenue for our organization that we are then going to put toward, physical building improvements, HVAC improvements, things like that. But obviously, like, you guys own Sugar Grove, and Brian, you own Sugar Grove, so we could not have done it without your guys' partnership. Greatly appreciate the opportunity to host the event there. Our goal would be an annual event, if my board approves that, just at the end of this year. And I think it'll be really worthwhile, and it was very successful. I wanted to thank Brian and Andrea for your guys' commitment and hard work on that. And then obviously cannot thank Kirby enough. He was with us all day, running golf carts and promoting plots and how to get into Sugar Grove and the opportunities that are there. So I do want to thank him. And then secondly, our museum season is quickly wrapping up. We will be closing tentatively December 18th. So we will be closed for 3 months and redoing exhibits and bringing some new improvements to the museum. I would encourage you guys to consider membership. I've mailed out a couple memberships to City Council. If you're not a member already, I would encourage you guys to consider that. We are not supported through the city, the county, the state. We are a private 501c3 nonprofit, so without membership, events, donations, we can't make ends meet. So that's really crucial and important. But I hope that Talking Tombstones and events of that nature have proven to you guys and to our community that the History Center is a worthwhile investment, and our mission and purpose is pleasing to the community and you guys as City Council and whatnot. So just wanted to say thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And I believe that was kind of like your project from the very beginning.
Yes, it was.
You put it together.
Yes, I was an intern in 2014, and that was my summer project. So it never got implemented. So it was really a pride and joy to bring it to life. So yes.
Thank you so much. Anyone else wish to address?
I really appreciate you thanking the city, but
Oh, yeah.
we really should be thanking you
Oh.
for doing that.
No problem.
And if I'm fortunate enough to be in charge of the cemetery, you are always welcome to do that again.
Thank
So,
you. Good.
Yeah, that was an amazing event. That was really good for the cemetery. I think it had an impact on our levy too. So I really appreciate everything you did for that.
It brought a ton of people.
It brought a ton of people
into.
How many tickets did you sell?
220.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they were just not 45177 zip codes.
No.
We had people come through from Illinois, Arizona.
We had St. Louis, people that were in town for the Murphy, then stayed over an extra night, and then they did the Talking Tombstones, which was really wonderful.
And all the people that volunteered, like it was amazing.
Yes.
Thank you.
We had a person come through that told me that they now know more about this community through the event than their own community. So it was worthwhile.
Anyone else wish to address council member? If not, I'd ask for a motion.
Well, one quick thing, we do have a congressional representative now. Mike Terry was sworn in today.
We sure do.
Now I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. We are adjourned.
Good to see you. Congratulations on being official.
Thanks for the vote. I found it.
How's it feel?
And I'll do it next year.